all that CrossFit stuff just makes me so like anxious.
I love those.
It just makes me want to throw up. I don't like it.
You could even just use like, if you're new to it, you could even just use like 2 movements rather than all 4, right?
Yeah.
And then next time maybe use 3 movements and so on, right?
Yeah, so with EMOMs, I always use EMOMs. A lot of it is in actually my CrossFit program. If you want to improve your conditioning, I use EMOMs all the time.
Oh, yeah.
All the time, because you can scale the numbers. So I am terrible with burpees, especially when I'm tired. I just sometimes struggle with them. So sometimes I'll have an EMOM, 10-minute EMOM burpees, 10 burpees every minute. Same with push-ups, 10 push-ups, 15 push-ups every minute. Kettlebell swings as well, you can do the same thing. And it's hard enough, but you have enough rest that you can finish the whole 10 minutes. But what you would find is the more you do that, in about a few weeks, you'd be like, oh, I can do 15 burpees now in a minute and be fine. And that's how I was actually able to improve a lot of my fitness level, was using EMOMs. That's why I love them. But I've got, do you know Uzoma?
Uzoma Obilor, yeah. He's Nigerian also, there we go. Yeah.
In Vegas, and we did Bodybuilders CrossFit, and twice he threw up. So the first time he threw up halfway through the workout, and then the second time he came back, so he started doing calisthenics. And he was like,
UZOMA.
Yeah. It's like,
Oh, my computer froze. Hold on.
So he was like, oh, I've done some conditioning now. I'm ready. I was like, cool, let's do a workout. We did it at Gymshark Lifting Club. And afterwards, he was like, I feel great. And then he was like, 1 second. And he literally ran to throw up again.
Oh, man.
And I was like, dude, I'm not even trying to make you throw up. I actually was less evil this time. And it's just... But when I talked about sometimes I forget that my fitness level has improved.
Yeah.
That also showed me, because I was like, dude, I was being nice this time.
It sounds kind of like Jason Khalipa in terms of the way Khalipa goes about things with us. Because Jason, when like he'd take us through something, he'd be like, all right, yeah, we'll do this. And we just one more thing. Yeah. And then we'll do that thing. He'd be like, just one more thing.
It's like not understanding of like, if you're not proficient at something, he doesn't get it.
You guys should be able to do this.
Yes.
And then he fucks us up. Oh man!
It's because we think you're supposed to be in shape naturally.
We think you should be. That's such a. You're trying to be nice about it. You should be able to be in shape. Oh man,
That's that UK shade.
Yeah,
it's almost jacked.
yeah. He does calisthenics now.
Did you? Let me ask you this: before you started CrossFit, because you just said, oh, I love these EMOMs.
Yeah.
And to hear those words come out of somebody's mouth is somewhat triggering. I wonder, did you like that before? Or did you like start getting good at it? Then you're like, oh shit, I like the way this feels.
No, I didn't like it when I started.
You didn't?
Oh, no.
Okay.
No.
Did you used to think CrossFit was stupid?
Oh, yeah. Before I did CrossFit, I thought it was ridiculous. I thought the whole thing, the whole butterfly, the butterfly pull-ups, the dolphin pull-ups, the flapping around on the bar.
The kipping pull-ups?
Yeah, kipping pull-ups, called butterfly pull-ups. Even the burpees, so you see how we like flop to the floor. And I used to just think, it's so stupid. What is this? And then the more I did the workouts, the more I started to understand how it was. As you can see, this one is power cleans. No, this is ground to overhead. Okay. So as you can see, the workout was supposed to be 70 kilos on the bar. And I remember going, oh, this should be fine because this is standard for guys. And Zoma picked it up and was like, are you joking? He was like, dude, you're not serious. I was like, yeah,
He's already dying.
Yeah. And I said to him, the weight Zoma had to do was the women's weight. And so when I used to troll CrossFit, and then I started to do the workouts and I saw the weights in the workouts, I was like, how is this possible?
Yeah.
Until I started to do more of the workouts, and then I started to get better, and then I started to understand. And when I train with bodybuilders, it makes me realize how fit, CrossFitters are because of certain workouts I have to scale for bodybuilders. So yeah, it's I didn't enjoy it in the start. No one still enjoys them. Like that Mikos triangle I was talking about. I didn't enjoy that. At the end of it, I felt great, and I've done it now, and I've done that same workouts again and again and again. A lot of the times, I even put on my stories when I do workouts, I hate them. I don't enjoy it. I don't enjoy doing them, but at the end, I feel great.
Is that how you feel with runs, Mark? Because like you just did a 16-mile run. Like, did you enjoy the run, or did you like afterwards? You're like, fuck, I just did that.
I really like the results, and I love the process in a way, you know? So, and I guess, I don't know. I've been doing this stuff for a long time. I guess there's some part of me that really likes the pressure of it and the feel of like, fuck, my legs are burning. Yeah. And then I got to like communicate with myself in some different way to try to lie about that and like be like, no, they ain't burning. You're just getting started, man. Like this is just to be, so I don't know. I like the challenge of it a lot. I kind of have just learned to really love workouts and love the exercises. And they're definitely things that are I'm interested enough in them to do them. Yeah. And so I kind of think that because I'm doing them, it does me no good to complain about them. It does me no good to like stare at my shoes and not go and do it. It does me no good to like stay in bed. It's just, I love it. I actually really like it, And so there are aspects where you're like, fuck, man, something hurts in my foot today. Like there's stuff that happens that's like that, but the positives of it outweigh any of the negatives.
Yeah. Obi, also with you, because like you said you started CrossFit 3 years ago?
No, about almost 5 years now. Yeah. Whoa. Yeah. Yeah.
I would say that this shit's different though, because the intensity of like the running that I'm doing isn't really that high. Like it can be here and there. Like I'll do intervals and stuff, and there's stuff where a little bit of that, but I don't do that much of that. But in CrossFit, you do quite a bit of that.
So it's different. Like I even though I hate running, I do run. I started running a lot more during lockdown anyway, but I do a lot of zone 2 running. So not like dying, but I have pushed myself. I've done 10K. I've done quite a lot of 10K runs actually. People don't know this because it's something that's why I liked when you said you keep for yourself. Yeah. I've done them. I don't necessarily talk about them, and
solitude.
I joke about not liking running, but I still do basic, road running, and I do 5Ks every now and then. I actually enjoy doing them, ironically, but I'm just not quick. But I don't let that stop me. I think that's the difference. And I always say this to people, especially sharing it on my stories sometimes. And I say, I'm not doing this because I'm the quickest and I could easily not share my times and, lie and keep it to myself. But the reason why I feel like I want to share this is to show that just because I'm a big guy, it doesn't mean that I can't take part in doing some running. I don't want to be the fastest. I'll never be with this size, but it's just going out and getting it done. So I remember surprising myself when I did 10K, and I was just like, oh, I've just done 10K. And I kept pushing myself to go a little bit quicker with 10K. I remember my first 15. Oh boy, that hurt. Like after 10, that fight, the last 5, oh, my soul was crying. And
it's an interesting thing, right? Because you think, oh, I'm going to be fine. I can keep this pace. Like when you're doing it, you're thinking like, I can keep this pace I just went 2 miles. So there's no reason why I can't keep going. But after a while, you're like, I don't know if I can keep going.
Yeah, that was a test that I haven't repeated for after. I need to push myself again and do that. I want to do it again. But I'm slowly now, again, the ego thing, not trying to push too much. So now I'm like, no, take it easy. Sometimes I want to like push myself in my pace, but I know you have to, because you're the only one accountable for yourself when you do running. There's no one else running next to you. It's not like having a training partner. So yeah, you can have a running partner, which sometimes helps. But when you train on your own, like myself, you need that second voice that tells you need to rest longer. You need to slow down your pacing. You also need to watch your technique, because running something else that is quite technical, I never thought of that until I learned that there is a technique to it. Yeah. And, when I was learning, and the instructor was like, sometimes take your headphones off, turn the music off and listen to your rhythm and listen to your breathing. And I never would have thought of something like that. So it was quite interesting learning that and then applying that technique, because I remember the next time it was with Vivo, with Ben, I went to run again, and it was like, you've been running. Because he was like, you're far more relaxed than me. Because my shoulders were up here and I was so tense. And I was like this.
I had that problem.
Put your shoulders down. So
he's throwing up.
Oh yeah.
Running is like, even when you're running slow, it might not seem like a powerful movement, but there's some power and some strength in there for sure that I think are huge parts of it that I think get overlooked. And I'll show you later today, like there's a bunch of stuff that we can do, and I can show you where you're like, wow, like that really feels a lot less stressful. And it might not make sense today. It might not click today. It might click a few weeks and months down the road if you continue to run, because sometimes it's hard to get something ingrained in one day. But after a couple of weeks of you trying some of the things I'm going to suggest to you, I think you're going to be like, I think I get it.
Oh, I'm excited for that.
Obi, for you, when you started doing CrossFit, because like when it comes to bodybuilding, you are already so good, and then you go into a CrossFit class, and then you see that like there are women who are doing things more intensely with better form, with more load, and you are a huge guy. And I'm not saying that women can't do as well as guys, but what I'm saying is like you're 250 pounds.
Yeah.
And you got this lady that's like ripping you, right? When a lot of people do things that are totally outside of their ballpark or totally new, like Andrew's been doing jiu-jitsu. When I started, I was getting my ass beat by people half my size. It causes people to be like, this isn't for me. Like somebody as big as Mark starting running and it feeling uncomfortable, they're like, this isn't for me. So for you, what spurred you to be like, I want to continue doing this thing that I'm not good at right now, even though you were elite at bodybuilding?
I think I was very curious about what it would be like to be able to move, to, do the overhead squats, the handstand push-ups, the pistol squats. It was just, I was curious to know how that would feel like, and also envious, because I was looking at everyone in the class, and a lot of not everyone was good at the movements, but looking at the people who were really good and just thinking, I want to be able to move like that. And also being impressed, seeing people do some Olympic movements in a workout, in a conditioning workout. They're tired, but when they get to that bar, picking it up and doing some ground to overhead or doing some snatches even, some hang snatches, some hand clusters. And I'm just like, this is so cool. I want to move like this.
Yeah.
I think that was part of it. I was curious, and I also wanted to know what it felt like to move that way in a workout. And I also liked I think one thing CrossFit gets trolled about is like the whole, high five. Woo, you're doing great. Woo. And you don't have that in bodybuilding, right? You train alone.
Yeah.
So it was so fun to, like, you finish the workout and everyone was like, oh, that was awesome. That was
community.
Great. Yeah. Yeah. That was so fun. You all sit down, have your shakes and talk about the workout. And you're like, how did you do? How did you approach the workout? How did you, and it made me break out my shell more, because I've never been to, I always say this, when I first started to go to Royal Docks, it was in, it's in Royal Docks, so Royal Docks CrossFit in Royal Victoria, yeah. And I would go in with my headphones on, naturally, because bodybuilding start to do my training, and people would just start talking to me. And for me, I was so used to being in a bodybuilding gym, being like, nobody talks to you. So, and after a while, I was like, you can't have your headphones on here. They just wouldn't leave me alone. So I stopped having headphones on when I go to CrossFit boxes. I rarely have my headphones on, just because of, people will talk to you, and then some people are like, well, what's your conditioning? Oh, let's do it together. And again, it was something I wasn't used to. And people teaching you. And that was the one thing, actually, the biggest change for me was a lot of the times I wouldn't know how to do something, and not being afraid to ask someone, because they will be more than happy to show you.
Were you afraid initially?
Not
or
afraid,
uncomfortable?
But it was an ego thing. Like, not wanting to ask for help, because I should be able to learn this on my own. Don't need anyone to show me, So I had to learn to say to someone, how do I do this? And also not, it's funny when someone gives you advice in the bodybuilding gym and you already know what you're doing, you kind of go, who are you to tell me?
Bro, I'm
already swole. I'm already hench. I don't need you to give me any advice. So for me, I had to luckily take that ego away. And when someone half my size is going, right, this is how you can do the overhead squats, or they'll be watching me training and learning something and go, do you want me to help you to do this better? And me going, yeah, show me how to do this. And I'm very receptive. I will do something that someone shows me now. Back in the day, I probably was a little bit stubborn. Like, I wouldn't, if I was doing some bodybuilding in the gym and you came and told me, oh, maybe try this way, I'm like, who are you to tell me what to do, kind of thing, So I became more receptive to learning and training with people. And I found that, I don't hate training with people. I actually like it. I enjoy it. I thought I enjoyed the solitude, I like being alone. And we had those t-shirts back in the day, don't talk to me. The bodybuilding, like, don't talk to me. Shut up, I'm lifting. That was a thing back then.
Yeah.
So it being in a CrossFit box where everyone's like, woo, high five, let's go and, pizza Wednesdays and, hanging out together. I'm like, why are you hanging out together? This is not normal, but it is. Yeah. Why isn't it normal?
Yeah.
Why isn't it nice to be with a community that you all enjoy being around each other? Everyone's helping each other. If you're doing a workout, I think one thing I loved, and it was so impressive to see, is when you do the open CrossFit, everyone's doing the same workouts and people just cheering you on. And if you're the last person to finish, everyone's watching you and cheering you on. It's like, come on, we've got this. Let's do this.
Yeah.
And for me, that was such an eye opener. And I started to, even though I was learning something new, I started to enjoy going into that space because I liked being around people who were nice and smiling and talking, and it wasn't about what you looked like in your aesthetics.
Yeah.
And no one was taking selfies. There was no mirrors. That was the biggest shock for me, actually. It took me a while to get used to not having mirrors.
You're like, wait, what?
Yeah, because I had to do bodybuilding in a CrossFit box, and I was just kind of like, you had to go with intuition, which is a different ball game for me. So for about 2 years, I was only training in a CrossFit box, and it was all intuition.
Yeah.
So when I was filming YouTube videos, you can imagine we sometimes have the mirror, so we make sure that the form is good. On YouTube, you don't want to be doing anything dodgy. And I'm filming a bodybuilding video, and I have no idea what it looks like until I watch the video back. And I was learning to actually train without a mirror. It actually got to the point where I would go to a normal gym and I would turn away from a mirror to do my bodybuilding training because I didn't want to see myself anymore. I just wanted to feel what I was doing.
Pet Project family, we talk about meat all the time on the podcast because protein is essential for your health. That's why I partner with Piedmontese. And if you head to their website, they have so much different types of beef. They have beef sticks, beef jerky, tons of different cuts of meat. You should go check them out. Andrew, how can they learn more?
You guys got to head over to Piedmontese.com. That's Piedmontese.com. And at checkout, enter promo code POWER to save 25% off your entire order. And if your order is over $150 or more, you get free 2-day shipping. Links to them down in the description as well as the podcast show notes.
Mark, for you, because Obi mentioned that ego thing, right? You've been doing running for a while, but like you've done powerlifting. Was there ever a point where your ego ever got in your way of your progress? Because nowadays, I don't know, but nowadays it doesn't seem like when people give you advice and people give us advice that come here, we're typically pretty open. But do you remember like when you had to get past your ego for something when it comes to fitness shit?
I think there's been so many things that I've been wrong about. There's been so many things that I've thought were stupid that hopefully I'm like learning my lesson. I thought intermittent fasting was dumb.
Yeah.
I didn't really think CrossFit was dumb. I thought CrossFit was kind of neat. I thought it was pretty cool off the bat. But with running and just, I don't know, you got to be humble. Like you got to learn, and I think, through doing this podcast, through the process of doing this, I've learned there's so much to be learned from other people. And try to just be open-minded. So it can still block me though, because even if I watch other runners, I'm sometimes like, I guess like in an arrogant way, I'm like, they don't know what I know. Like I know a lot. I know a lot about fitness, but I don't know about running. So I shouldn't necessarily say like, oh, because I know a lot, I'm not going to listen to this runner. Right. That doesn't really make any sense. So I still have a block there sometimes, but I think on a more positive note, I think it's more like, I think I have information that a lot of other people don't have. I think I have like a recipe, and I think I have some shit going on with my running that is maybe just different, through David Weck, through the guys from Goda, through functional patterns, through blending these things together, the stuff I've learned from Kelly Starrett, the stuff I've learned from powerlifting. I don't know. I guess we'll see like what it's able to help me do. But I actually think that I'll be pretty fast in the long run. It's going to take me a while. It might take me 10 years, but I think I'll be able to fly through like half marathons and stuff with pretty good proficiency.
Yeah, I was just going to say, like, I've never been really good at long distance running. And by long distance, I mean more than a mile. That's what I would consider long distance. But in the, like, I don't know what, like 3 times I've ran with Mark, you know, I like I said, never ran more than 2 miles. I'm running 5 miles in hills and feeling really good just by following his coaching. And you think like, oh, you're just shuffling your feet forward, but he's like, no, activate your glutes here, or, you know, try pulling with this muscle. And like, because in my opinion, or in my thought process was like, let me just try to like kip the run, you know, let me try to use as little energy each time and make it as efficient as possible. But he's like, no, let's actually try activating different things. And, you know, again, I've never researched it, but I've never heard anybody speak that way. And just in the little bit of time I ran with him, I'm like, holy shit, I ran 5 miles? Like, I've never done that.
You ran 5 miles the other day pretty easy. I know maybe the last mile is when we started losing you a little bit.
Because we were going up a steep hill.
Well, it's fucking 5 miles.
Yeah. So dude, I'm excited to see where you take running, just because you are coming from a different practice, and you're probably going to ruffle a lot of feathers in the process. In a good way, though. No one's going to get upset, but you're going to change quite a bit, I think.
Yeah, I think I'll be able to teach a lot of people a lot of cool things. And it's not stuff that I made up. It's stuff that I got from other people, you know. So being open-minded and understanding, and then just something I've learned from lifting that is true with running. The biggest problem with running is that people try to run. That's the biggest problem. People need to jog. People need to jog, and they need to go really fucking slow. Okay. People need to go out and literally jog as slow as they possibly can. Like, what's the difference between a walk and a jog? Okay, that's your speed for the next 2 weeks. You know, and that's where you need to start.
I don't think you have to tell me that twice. I will jog.
Yeah, you need to fucking, you need to
dog. I'm so lazy. I would do that.
You need to dog it.
Yeah. I'm like, but that I like that you said that, because I have learned that I needed to slow down, because I was always one of those people that, oh, everyone's doing, you know, 5K in 25 minutes and finding that easy. I need to be like that. And it's learning to slow down, like you said. But I'm one of those people that if you tell me I have to slow down, I'll be like, don't tell me twice. I will do it. Like, easy pace on that conditioning work. Oh, yeah, of course. You can scale if you want to. Don't ever tell me I can scale a workout, because I would do it.
Have you always been that way, though, or did it take some hard lessons?
Yeah, hard lessons. Hard lessons, because I remember there was one time I trained in Wit Fitness, is this big CrossFit box in the UK. And I was new to CrossFit then. It was the first year. And I was training with some people who were really good. And we did the Olympic lifting portion, and then it was right, time for conditioning. And the workout started on the bike, and it was like 3, 2, 1, go. And I absolutely smashed the bike quicker than I didn't know, but I got off the bike and I was like, why am I quicker than all these guys? And they're really good. Yeah. And I got to the pull-ups, and I remember, I finished last in the workout. And then Gus, who was one of the coaches, was like, I knew you were that will happen. Because there's a reason why we slowed down, because you went balls to wall to start. We plan, we strategize a session. You don't just go full out. And they always know people are new. New CrossFitters know if you're new to a workout, to CrossFit, because they would see that you would always go full throttle the first, and it's 5 rounds of a workout, and you've just done 100% on the first round.
And they would know who you are if you went full throttle and were able to complete the entire thing full throttle.
Yes, exactly.
They would know you'd have a reputation.
Exactly. So I remember even when I was rushing to the next stage, and it was pull-ups and wall balls, they were just like, they don't call it rest, they call it recovery. So from the bike to the pull-ups, they walk whilst I'm like running to get there. And I was like, something's not right. And I remember that struggling, and they were going past me. I was like, right, so I've done something wrong. And then he literally like explained to me what happened. And he was like, as I was doing the workout, I could tell that was going to happen to you. And this is why. And I learned, that was such a big lesson.
I can picture them elbowing each other. The other guy's going to totally kill himself.
Yeah, but that was such a teachable moment for me. And because I like to be, I learned a lesson. Yeah. And the old me, if I was the bodybuilder side of me luckily, who would have been like, oh, don't tell me what to do. I'm this big guy in shape. But the new side of me was like, okay, I've learned that lesson now. And whenever I do bodybuilders does CrossFit, the bodybuilders do exactly the same thing I have done. And when we start the workout, they do the same. They go balls to wall, and they're beating me.
Your videos.
They're beating me, and I'm like, cool, that's fine. And I'm just like trotting along, and then I can start seeing them die. I'm like, yeah, that's exactly what happens to me. But I don't tell them because sometimes I feel like sometimes people need to learn the hard way. So like you say, you know, people need to start jogging first before. A lot of the time we won't listen to that because we're like, nah. But then if we did a run and it's like, you know, 10 plus miles, and I'm the idiot that starts at my 90%, and then you're like, you know, it's like the rabbit and the tortoise, right? That's the best analogy you can use for running, actually. You know, and it's CrossFit is the same. CrossFit conditioning is the same. It's not how fast you start, but some people are freaks. They would just go, you know, and that's rare, you know, but you can see the pros would always take their time, and then when it comes to it, that last round, they will just smash it. You're just like, how is that possible?
Yeah, I've worked out with a handful of CrossFit champions before, and none of them were they weren't trying to bury me or anything. They were trying to give me like a decent, you know, introduction into it. But of course, they want to make you like feel it a little bit too. Yeah. And I remember, you know, going through like round 1 and round 2. I'm like, oh, like I'm behind, but I'm not that far behind. And again, they're not going that hard, but. Then, you know, as the rounds went by, you know, you get to like round 4, and now they're lapping you pretty easily. Now you're starting to really struggle, and like your abdominals aren't working anymore for a lot of the movements that you're doing. And you like I think it was doing like wall ball or something.
Wall balls,
I couldn't do them right at all.
Yeah,
anymore.
I know.
So I just like fucking turned around and started throwing them behind me because like my stomach was like cramping as I was trying to squat down. I'm like, I'll just do anything to try to finish this workout, and it just got, you know, I just like keeled over. I did finish the workout, but I mean, they just, after a little bit, they're just kind of cruising through it. They're like, oh, okay, well, that was a good job. Like, we're going to go through another round, you know?
Yeah.
And they started the whole thing over again. And they went through it at like their real pace. And I was like, oh my God, it's crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy. They can do like 3 workouts. They'll do the first one, rest for like 5 minutes, and they'll be like, right, time for the next one. And we're like, what? I thought that's the word. No, but also they've trained themselves to get to that stage, but also I think sometimes the barrier of learning CrossFit or doing any conditioning with people who have come from bodybuilding or different, you know, field, powerlifting, is because it feels hard. They're just like, oh, this is too much effort. I don't need to be good at this. I'm already good at what I'm doing now. Why would I want to start from 0? You know, and I feel a lot of people struggle with that. And I could have got 2 ways. I could have either gone, yeah, no, I'll stick to bodybuilding and I already have the aesthetics. I don't need this. Or this other option, which I did, was, you know what? I'm ready to humble myself and learn and ask for help. And luckily I did, because it opened my mind into such a different world. And actually, it made me enjoy fitness so much more. Because the time I started CrossFit, I was bored with bodybuilding. And, you know, I was just bored of doing the same thing. Yeah. And doing that made me appreciate bodybuilding even more, but also fitness in general. Because then I started to see running. I was like, I get why running is an exercise. I get why people go on the bike. I get why people do different things. And it made me start to also want to try new things. So that's why I tried Pilates, because I saw it, and the old me was like, oh, Pilates just looks like people faffing around. And then I was like, you know what, I'm gonna try it. And then I'll never forget it, because I did it. My instructor Marsha, she was like, right, we'll go, and she put me on the reformer, and she was like, yeah, now hold that for 3 minutes. I was like, what? And after the session, everything was sore. And that changed my mindset completely. I was like, you have my respect. Sorry, go on.
No, go ahead.
No, because I was always looking at certain ways people train that isn't bodybuilding as less than.
Yeah. The cool thing about like the reformer Pilates, CrossFit, running, jiu-jitsu is that it shows, like, even though you may have all this muscle from your bodybuilding training, it doesn't do anything.
No.
Like, even if you have all this muscle because you were powerlifting, and I'm not saying that the muscle, it's good for your health, to have muscle and over time in terms of longevity. But when you go do something that you're forced to really perform, get your heart rate up, you're useless. And it could either be feeling that level of uselessness could either crush you like it does to many, or it could be like, I want to get good at this.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah.
And I'm almost curious, as you've gotten better at CrossFit, have you noticed anything from your bodybuilding background? Like Mark, you mentioned that there are aspects of your strength training that now you bring into running. You're like, I can see some places where these runners have holes where you're like, I can make you a better runner if you just did this. Is there anything you notice in CrossFit where you're like, damn, they might be able to do this better if they did more of this?
Oh, for sure.
What are some of
I
those
think
things?
if average CrossFitters did more bodybuilding, they would be so much better. So the athletes already do that, but the athletes sometimes don't share that because it's not sexy, right?
You mean the high level athletes?
Yes,
Okay.
they don't share the bodybuilding side, and they call it accessory work, which is ironic. They call bodybuilding accessory work. I remember, I'll never forget it. There was a CrossFit event, and
CrossFitters are so cute. With their little back squats and stuff.
Back squats.
No, so they was a CrossFit competition, and some real top athletes around the Europe came, and I remember being in the box, and everybody was throwing weights around. There was this guy who's really good. I had no idea who he was, but he was in the corner and he was doing some bodybuilding, he was doing some chest press, some dumbbell rows, and I noticed that because I pay attention. And then I went to talk to him. I was like, "What, what are you doing?" He's like, "My name is there. I'm like doing one of the competitions." I had to Instagram. I was like, "Oh shit, he's like one of the best."
Yeah.
And he was like, "Oh, I'm just doing some of my accessories, but I do this all the time." I was like, "It's really interesting because I never thought CrossFitters did any form of bodybuilding." Because I know I do a lot of this. This is part of and he was jacked.
Yeah.
So, and he does strict pull-ups, a lot of them. He does bench. Sometimes he's like, sometimes I go to a bodybuilding gym, to use the machines. And if a lot of CrossFitters did that, a lot of the injuries they'll be able to avoid, if I'm being honest. But also they'll be stronger. I mean, there was someone else said that you shouldn't kip your pull-ups until you can do at least 8 to 10 strict pull-up.
Yeah.
And that is, I wish a lot of CrossFitters, the average CrossFitters, did that. That was the rule that they implemented. So if a lot of them did bodybuilding movements, and that was also what motivated me to do minimal training in a CrossFit box, so bodybuilding in a CrossFit box, just to show people that it can be done. And I feel like I wish some of the classes, which they are starting to, because I started to see a lot of bench pressing in CrossFit classes, I wish they had more single arm movements. You see a lot of Olympic weightlifters do a lot of unilateral, you see them, they do a lot of single arm rows. They do a lot of, actually now a lot of them do lat pull downs, a lot of pull-ups, things like GHD, but reverse extensions, things like that to strengthen your lower back. So I feel, unfortunately, a class isn't enough time period to improve on because they want to do the fundamentals and then get onto the conditioning.
Yeah.
So I wish that was something that a lot of CrossFitters did more of.
Yeah, seeing some of them work out is really inspiring. I remember seeing Rich Froning. It was actually pretty amazing. I don't think I had any business being in this room, but I was at Rogue Fitness. It was around the time of the Arnold, and it was like every CrossFit Games champion was in there.
Yeah.
It was kind of like, holy fuck, like what did I kind of, I like I said, I should probably not have been in there. I just asked the security guy. I was like, I've been in here before. Is it cool if I go in there and work out? I go in there and there's nobody in there. And then 10 minutes later, all these CrossFit people show up and they have these workouts where they're training for the online, the Open.
Open, yes.
The Open. And Matt Frazier's in there and Rich Froning and so on. And I watch Rich Froning, ask him how he's doing. He's already like, 4-time champ and whatever. And he's like, I'm just kind of messing around. I'm kind of banged up. So I'm just doing this for today. And he was doing pistol squats mixed with the assault bike, mixed with pull-ups.
Yeah.
And he just kept going back and forth between that. And he probably did that for, I don't know, like 30 minutes. A couple minutes go by, he's drenched in fucking sweat, and he loads up a bar and he does some bench pressing. He does sets of 5 with 275. Matt Frazier is doing one of the workouts. I don't remember exactly what the workout was, but he kept going between an Olympic lift. I think he was doing a clean, and he was doing kipping pull-ups in between that.
Right.
It was like one of the workouts, 2018 or something like that. He kept going up in weight after every set. And I want to say there was like 150 kilos on there or something, like 300 something. I mean, it wasn't like he was, just lifting like 2 plates. I mean,
he faffing around.
Yeah. I was like, there's no aspect of what either one of these guys did today that I can do. I don't even know how to do a pistol squat. And cleans I can kind of barely do, and I don't even know how to do like a butterfly kipping pull-up. I can barely do regular pull-ups all that well. So my hat goes off to those guys. I think and girls. I think they're amazing. It's an amazing sport. What I find really interesting about it is that there's a major like cross-section between training the central nervous system and training the muscular system. And they just kind of took that and they just said, fuck it. And they put in a blender and just fucking grinded it all up, which is rare, which is why I think if I show you some stuff with running, we can kind of stay on the side where we're not overtaxing the nervous system, where it's kind of just muscular. And then it's just like, well, how do we just deal with, how do we mitigate fatigue? Is all it's going to be. Yeah. But in a CrossFit workout, it's way different because you might be on that assault bike trying to go for time and trying to burn a certain amount of calories. And then in between that, you might try to lift weights, which you don't really have a choice. You can only calm down so much when you have that kind of intensity.
Yeah, it is. It's tough. It's also learning to, I always call it learning to move under fatigue, lift under fatigue. And so sometimes, like I said, I use EMOM a lot to help me with that. So, like that workout he was doing with the cleans and the pull-up. So I think I kind of remember, it's one of those you have to, every round you pass, you take the weight up. Yeah. Till you can't either lift anymore or that's like your max.
I never seen anything like it because I'm like, really how impressive. Is he doing this with his grip?
Is that Matt Froning?
Matt Fraser.
Matt Fraser.
Yeah.
Okay. It was crazy. I was like, I've never, and everyone just like kind of stood around and started watching, which a lot of times those guys don't really care because they're used to seeing each other like be such badasses. But everyone at that moment stopped. They were like, what the fuck's going on over here?
So Matt, sometimes with CrossFitters, they either have a gymnast background or Olympic weightlifting background. Matt has Olympic weightlifting. Yeah. So for him, that's like nothing. And then you do have some CrossFitters who have gymnast backgrounds where some of the movements that require gymnastic movement, you're just like, how? You're supposed to be tired, and they're just breezing through the workouts. You can always tell when people are proficient in certain things. And obviously the best CrossFitters are the all-rounders, so it's tough. But I think what sometimes the professionals do from some of the people I've been around is they don't always destroy themselves in the workout. And I think that's one thing that people think is every session is batter yourself, like always on the floor, like dying. And they reserve a lot of that for when it's time to closer to competition. So I learned that a lot of pro CrossFitters actually slow down a bit during off season and use advantages of EMOMs. And it's all about not trying to destroy the body before the time comes, So it's just like with running. If you use running as the same way, every Olympic, the world record holder for marathon, I remember watching this interview for Kipchoge. Yeah. And he was talking about, his races, how he runs and he trains. He runs with a group of people, and not just by himself. I always thinking, he'll run by himself. He's so quick. He's the quickest one. It's like, no. Sometimes in the week, he runs with a group of people. They just like a casual run around. And for me, that was an eye-opener because I was thinking he would be like absolutely kill it. Like no one would be able to keep up with him. And I started to learn, that's how I learned with running, that it's not always going crazy. Like zone 2 running most of the week. And for me, that was hard. I was like, because I was thinking, this is a bit too relaxed. But there is a reason for that. And then it's the same with CrossFit workouts. It's the same with conditioning. It doesn't always have to mean that you're passing out on the floor, want to throw up, or once you learn to scale down and slow down, I think that is when, again, it's an ego thing, right? You don't want to slow down. You don't want to go for a light jog when you can be quick. So with CrossFit workouts, that's how now I've started to approach my training, even when I go on the road cycling, because I see other people going really quick and I know I'm supposed to be slightly slower that day because I'm trying to complete 50K, but I see other people going really quick. I'm like, no, I need to keep up with them. And that screws up my whole timing because then I get tired quicker. You know, so it is learning to get rid of that ego side that says to you that you need to be really good, or you need to like always continuously push yourself and you need to be passed out on the floor all the time to know that you have a good workout.
You know, the interesting thing is like, it's that idea of backing off. You feel that if you're not backed off, or if you do back off, you're not progressing anymore. And you're moving backwards. And I think Andrew, actually, because you've been dealing with a lot of new stuff in terms of jiu-jitsu, what's been going on with you?
So, I mean, quick update. Like I jacked my ribs up a little bit, and by a little bit, I mean a lot. I'm just trying not to acknowledge it that much or give it the power. But so I haven't been able to roll for the past 2 weeks, you know, so I've just been drilling, and something that's happening for me right now is like, I'm losing focus is what I'm saying. Cause in the mornings when I would go roll, I'd be up at 3:30. Just, I couldn't wait to go. Like, you know, sometimes like for a workout or something, it's like, oh fuck, here we go. For jiu-jitsu, it's like, I can't wait to get there. Can we start an hour earlier? You know, like, it's amazing. Now that I know I'm not going to go roll, I'm just going to go do some drills, the energy level's not there anymore. You know, I'm just like, all right, here we go. So I'm trying to understand that there's so much that I can do right now. It's just, again, it's because I'm not getting that same like stimulus. I'm not as fired up, and I know that's not the correct way to look at it, but that's just what I'm dealing with right now. So these are some learning, you know, growing pains that I'm going through, but like overall, like everything's been incredible. Like, you know, I'm still in that honeymoon stage for sure. You know, and I want to tell people how much I love it, but then I'm like,
Nsima's still in that honeymoon phase, I think.
With jiu-jitsu?
Yeah.
Fuck yeah.
So, but what I'm saying is like, when I tell people, oh my God, dude, I love it so much. And then I'm like, okay, but I'm also not getting fired up to do some drills. So like, do I actually love it? But I'm like, I really do, because now every free moment, like we were joking this morning, it's like, why am I going to watch Netflix when I can like roll out some fascia and watch some like jujitsu like tutorials or something? Like, I can't imagine doing anything else right now. So like, that's been like a really, really cool experience. And that's something I'm going through right now though. Yeah.
That's a cool time period though. That's an amazing place to be. I think, you know, for any physical endeavor that anyone's going to try to do, whether it's like they're trying to hike, they're trying to mountain climb, they're trying to boulder, they're trying to do jiu-jitsu, cycling, running, swimming, any of these things. Rules number 1 through 5 are don't get hurt. You know, like that's a major thing. Now, in grappling or boxing or MMA, it's like, unfortunately, you got somebody else to deal with. So trying to mitigate getting injured is way more difficult. Like, it's a catastrophe, really. It's like, good luck with that. You know, good luck with making it through 5 years of jiu-jitsu and never getting hurt. Like, I don't know, you would maybe have to find someone that was like wrestling a pillow rather than a real opponent, right? Yeah. But with like running and stuff like that, I think you can, if you can. Not that you can escape all injuries, because some things are sometimes inevitable. Sometimes you are trying to push the envelope and you are trying to progress. So it's understandable, but you should be able to be smart enough to not fall into that category of just being the guy that hurt yourself on the gymnastics rings because you kept trying to muscle up over and over and over again. And you're not strong enough to do them yet. And it's fine. You'll learn it over a period of time. Maybe you have to get strong on regular dips before you can do ring dips, you know, things like that. Like, there's ways to progress in some of this stuff, and just take your time. Don't allow yourself to get hurt. And if you are getting hurt or sore or banged up and beat up, try to hire a practitioner, massage therapist of some kind to kind of work on you, or look into some like myofascial release, stretching, try to address your injuries the best you can, and keep them at bay as long as you can and as much as you can.
Hey guys, I want to tell you about Merrick Health, the premium telehealth clinic owned by Derek for More Plates, More Dates. Now, when some people think about Merrick Health, they think it's just another one of those testosterone companies or another one of those blood work companies. But Merrick Health is really cool because, yeah, you can get your blood work done, you can get hormone optimization, but you can also get nootropics. You can also get Viagra. You can get literally whatever you need from that clinic. And they make it very, very easy for you. That's why we love Merrick. So, Andrew, how can people learn about it?
Yes, Merrick Health is not just a one-trick pony, but if you did want to get your labs done, we highly recommend the Power Project panel. That's 28 different labs. That's also going to come with a client care coordinator that's going to give you a lab analysis, and they're going to work with you and help you optimize your body. Again, that's at merrickhealth.com/powerproject. At checkout, enter promo code PowerProject to save $101 off that entire panel. Links to them down in the description as well as the podcast show notes.
You know, one thing though that I think is like super cool is we kind of started mentioning how we're all doing different things outside of bodybuilding and powerlifting, right? But bodybuilding has helped all the things we do.
Oh yeah.
Bodybuilding, like when you mentioned CrossFitters need to do more bodybuilding. They wouldn't get injured as much. I'm like, CrossFitters and jiu-jitsu athletes are the same fucking people. Because in jiu-jitsu, a lot of athletes get injured because they're really weak and their muscles are really weak. So when they get pulled or whatever, they're like, oh, I strained this, I strained that. And then you look at them and you're like, you're frail. Like if you just got in the gym and you started lifting a little bit, not like you don't have to do as much volume as a bodybuilder, but if you start doing some volume, you'd be more resilient and durable. Yeah. Probably the same thing with the dedicated runner, and probably the same thing with the dedicated CrossFit.
Yeah, or even just someone new to running. Like maybe they're just like, oh, you know what, I should run because I could really lose some weight. I'm going to start in January, or I'm starting Monday. And then they go out for a run, and they try to run like somebody else that they heard about, or they try to run it the way that they used to run, and they try to go on like a 3-mile run, but you know, they maybe gained some weight since last time they ran, and now their ankles are in a heap of trouble. Maybe their knee is banged up, or they just had a bad experience. Like they went and ran, and they went like 200 yards, 300 yards, and they just couldn't breathe, and they're like, "Fuck, man! Like this isn't for me."
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Did you ever, do you still have the idea in terms of like running not being for you? Because I know you've mentioned like running's a difficult thing, but I know like when I started running again, initially I was like, fuck, this is hard. I'm just too big. There's this thing like, oh, you're just too big for running. But have you gotten past that? How do you feel about that?
I mean, I slightly joke when I say that, to be fair. Like I run on a regular basis. I think I'm more lazy when it comes to running outside. Because when it's cold or it's raining, I'm like, no, I don't want to, you know. So I would run on the treadmill more often than I would run outside. I do enjoy running. I tell you what, I don't enjoy running in a workout. When I'm tired, I'm fatigued, and I know that I have to run, and then I have to pick up this dumbbell and then the barbell, and then go back onto the treadmill or run outside. And that's when I don't enjoy it. I still do it. You know, I don't like burpees. I still do them. You know, I think that's the one thing also with training. It's not always going to be enjoyable, and I think it's having that discipline. Even though I say have fun with your training, however, some aspects isn't going to be fun. But that's when discipline comes in to play, and being your own motivation. You have to be able to motivate yourself, because not everyone's you're not going to have someone standing next to you going, come on, you got this, let's do this. You're going to have to say to yourself, I know you don't want to do this, but you have to do this. You know, so when sometimes I'm running a 5K on a treadmill, I'm like, oh my God, this is so boring. But I'm like, no, you need to do it. You need to finish. Sometimes I have to say to myself, like, I'm looking at the running shoes, and I know you have to do it. I'm like, oh, but it's late. I've already trained. No, you have to do it. You have to do it. So I think that voice that's been in my head when I was doing bodybuilding, to keep going, to keep pushing, even when I wasn't seeing results, it's that same voice, even though it makes me sound crazy, that tells me that you need to keep pushing. You don't like running, you need to program that. Because I do my own programming. Yeah. So sometimes people are like, well, why have you programmed all these burpees if you don't enjoy it? I was like, because I don't enjoy it, I have to do it more so that I get better and more proficient at it. I'm still not going to like it, because people ask me, oh, do you like it now because you're doing it more often? No, I hate it. But doesn't mean because I hate something that I don't want to do it. So running is the same for me. I'm not the quickest runner. Sometimes if I'm running more than 5K, I'm like, oh gosh, this is torture. But I still do it. And it's not because I hate it. You know, when I say I don't like it, or if I say I don't enjoy it, it's an exaggeration. It's me just playing around. but I love exercise.
Yeah.
So even though I don't enjoy certain things, I just love exercise. I love the feeling I get from it afterwards. So I always say to people, some CrossFit conditioning is awful. Like, it's horrible. Like, you feel like death when you're doing some of them. But at the end of it, you're like, oh, that felt great. Yeah. It's a weird cycle that you go through when you're like, oh, that was just horrible. It's the same as some people who do marathon running. They probably will do a marathon and throughout the run, they're hating every minute of it. But at the end of it, they probably feel on top of the world because they finished it.
I think you can definitely get yourself to a point where you're like, I don't know if this is safe anymore. I know I've felt that in a CrossFit style workout before, or conditioning workouts before, where I'm like, I'm pretty sure I overdid it. I'm not sure how or when I'm going to get my breath back. Like, kind of scary. Like, you put yourself that far back. Andrew, can you look up and see, maybe we can find out more information on the burpee. If you can look up who invented the burpee, because there's hopefully we find kind of stumble upon the right thing. But a burpee is probably like the single greatest body weight movement ever created.
Royal Huddleston burpee. So it was from your people in the UK?
Really?
What a great name. Huddleston?
Huddleston.
What a great name.
It's hilarious.
What does it say about it?
Can you see that, Nsima, or no?
The man responsible for the grimace-inducing exercise is Royal Huddleston Burpee, a physiologist who was also the executive director of the YMCA in New York City. During the course of his doctoral research at the Columbia University Teachers College, Burpee decided to create a method to evaluate a person's physical fitness.
Wow.
So after further review and investigation of this movement, people have looked at it systematically, and they basically said that the amount of movement that you're doing, because you're going down to the ground and then you're jumping. Olympic lifting, there's a lot of movement, like in a clean and jerk or a snatch. You're lifting the weight X amount of inches off the ground to overhead, X feet off the ground, I guess you would say. Or, but same thing with a burpee. When you're getting down the ground, I guess you're kind of doing like a push up, pushing yourself up off the ground, springing up, and then jumping. There's a lot of volume in that. Sometimes we forget that volume is a big part of the whole thing, because there's an equation of and I'm going to fuck some of this up, but there's an equation of how much distance you're moving something over a period of time. So a burpee is it might seem silly or weird or whatever, but it's a really devastating exercise, and it's a great thing to blend into for some conditioning. I mean, you could do some burpees in between sets of curls or something like that, and just build your conditioning that way.
Yeah, I mean, it's a movement that is ridiculously, I don't know what the word is, but it just hurts, and it just looks like it shouldn't.
It looks like it shouldn't.
Yeah, it looks straightforward, but
you know who's amazing at them? Little kids.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, kids can fuck burpees up, man.
Yeah.
Because they're light and they're already low to the ground.
Yeah.
They're like
Yeah. No, that is true. It's one of those, I think burpees. Another one for me is jump rope. So we call it skipping, you call it jump rope. So CrossFit, they do double unders. And you know what's so funny? I always laugh about this. So I always know people who aren't CrossFitters because they go, well, double unders is just the same as normal skipping. What's the difference? It doesn't look that hard. I was like, I was like, right. I'm always like, right, let's do, you come and do double unders in a workout, and we'll have a conversation after. And I don't know, being heavy and doing double unders, because I have a fitness tracker, you can see your heart rate. It's just any
see you do it, it's impressive.
Your heart rate, you could do a workout, and if it has double unders, I guarantee if I looked at your heart rate, throughout the workout, where the double unders is, because it just shoots right up. And it's one of those things that when you're tired, it's the most awful movement to do.
In the shoulders?
Yeah.
Do you feel it?
And if you don't do it right, and most people start taking their arms way too far out. So you have to, actually, one of the ways I learned is you just put a band around your arm, and all the things in all things you use your forearms. But even then, when you're tired, forget it. That's not going to stick to you. You're just going to want to get through the movement.
Do you need a speed rope to be good at double unders, or could you use like a normal jump rope?
A speed rope does help,
yeah,
because the way it moves. So it does really help. But I actually learned using a weighted handle rope. Yeah.
I'm gonna pull my rope out of the car because it's slightly weighted. I wonder if I can learn double unders with that, because I suck at them.
Yeah, but you know what the thing with double unders, just say to yourself, I'm ready to hit myself on the legs a lot of times to learn, because it's the most frustrating thing to learn. I remember at some point I threw it in the bin. Like, I literally just took the skipping rope and threw it in the bin. I was like, I'm done. So it was
That's great.
Yeah, there's no other way. You just have to keep doing it over and over and over again, but you will hit yourself. It's one of those exercises that I think is hilarious now that I can do it. But even when you're doing a workout, you can slip up and still hit yourself, and it's a frustrating pain, because it's not a fun way to hit yourself with that rope. So just be prepared to hit yourself a lot of times.
Yeah.
If you're ready for that, and if you're ready to be frustrated, you will be frustrated with it, because it's one of those things that you think that should be easily achievable. Because you're just going around. If you can go around once, your brain is like, why can't I go around twice? But there's more to it. It's coordination.
Yeah.
You know, and then if you use too much shoulders, it's shoulders. And remember, you're jumping. So like it's taxing. So it's one movement. Burpees and double unders, I find very frustrating.
Yeah. How long ago did you learn CrossFit?
It took me a year to get somewhat decent.
Was this in the last was this before the pandemic?
Yeah, before.
And so was that helpful, like knowing the skill set of CrossFit? Because you can kind of you don't need a lot of equipment, right?
Yes. So this was so funny, because I did quite well in terms of workout videos and my own training with the lockdown. I was like, I even remember saying to my friend who was my flatmate, because I lived in a shared house, I was like, I am so lucky I discovered CrossFit training before lockdown. If I only did bodybuilding, I would have been so frustrated. And I wasn't panicking. You know, everyone was like, oh, I need the machines, I need all this. And I went and took some kettlebells and dumbbells from my gym. And luckily he let us take the rower. Yeah. And I was like, I'm fine. And I created workouts from just using dumbbells and kettlebells and sometimes the bike, but I had a jump rope. So I was doing in the garden. So I was doing some double unders. So I was absolutely fine in terms of training, because I was so used to training the way I did in terms of conditioning that I didn't. Yes, of course, you still miss the weights and the bodybuilding in that aspect, but I didn't miss it too much, because then it allowed me to actually work on the things like the handstand push-ups in the living room, because I wasn't really good and I could get better. So in a way, I was lucky that I discovered a different way to train, because then I didn't struggle so much.
That's the theme with this thing. It just seems like when it comes to developing new aspects of fitness, it's just figuring out new problems to solve with your body, right? Yeah. Like when you've gotten really good at bodybuilding or really good at powerlifting, like when you can find other things that you're not good at, that's just a really good thing to do. And it's a really exciting aspect of, I think, what all of us are being able to do here.
Yeah. It's also fun, right? You get to train in different ways. It's not just one way anymore. Yeah. And it just makes it more exciting. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. And having goals, not how do you say it? Like non-physical looking goals, specific stuff.
Yeah, you're not focused on your physique.
Yeah, sorry, I totally butchered that one. But that's been huge, because like, you know, for me, I don't look at any aspect of like jujitsu like, oh, I don't want to have to do that today or whatever. Like it's all really good. And then now when I do go lifting, whereas before it was like, oh, let me whatever, my chest needs to get bigger. I never said that, but like I would focus on certain muscle groups. Now it's like, I'm going to do this because I want to perform better on the mats. Right. And I don't even think about the physique side of things. So like for me, that's been really, really huge. And Nsima's been preaching that for a long time now, you know, because people get stuck in, you know, like what you were saying on the podcast, like, oh, I had a slice of pizza and I got to jump on the Stairmaster because I got to burn those off. Whereas, you know, you switch it up and you're just like, okay, I'm going to use this energy to, you know, get better at my practice or whatever it may be. So that's huge. Yeah. And then, so the last thing I have to say about it all is the community aspect. I also would go to the gym by myself. I would, lift on the cable machines and headphones on and the world off, right? That's kind of like the memes that you see on social media. Yeah. So if you are going to start something new, whether it be CrossFit, Jiu-Jitsu, I can think of those two things right off the top of my head.
Yoga.
Getting yoga, I mean, come to super training for the same style of community, but like getting with a good group of people will make everything so much better. Like the guys that I roll jiu-jitsu with, like it's so much fun, like hanging out with them and training with them outside of jiu-jitsu. It's like, you get ingrained in this new community and you can kind of like, the way I look at it is like not what I can get out of it. It's like, dude, I actually have some value here. What can I help everyone out with? Yeah. And you start feeling good when you start helping people and then, they say thank you for the workout or whatever it may be. And then now like you just get even more fired up every time you go. So like before jiu-jitsu, I had less friends and now I have more friends. So like that's really cool. Yeah. So that's a really cool aspect of the community side of the new endeavors. Yeah. You guys anything else?
Want to take us on out of here, Andrew?
Sure thing. All right, let us know what you guys are gonna start new. Anything on the radar. Let us know down in the comments. And make sure you guys like this video and subscribe if you guys are not subscribed. Follow the podcast at MB Power Project on Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter. My Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter is at I am Andrew Z. Nsima, where you at?
Yeah, on one of the podcasts, there were a bunch of you guys who mentioned that you are going to or you wanted to start jiu-jitsu. So for those of you who actually mentioned that, who actually managed to start and who's waiting? Yeah. And then along with that, if you're not planning on starting jiu-jitsu, who's running or who's starting CrossFit, who's doing some different shit, let us know in the comments down below. At Nsima Inyang on Instagram and YouTube. Discord is down below. At Nsima Inyang on TikTok and Twitter. Obi, where can people find you?
It's at Obi_Vincent for Instagram, Obi Vincent for TikTok and YouTube.
Smelly's tip for the day is if you're trying to get into running, don't run, jog, move really fucking slow, maybe even just walk. Jog for 1 minute, maybe walk for 2 minutes and go back and forth between doing that and maybe do like 5 sets. Have that be your running for the day and just progress from there. Like take it really, really slow. Take your time. Anyone who starts to get an idea of like, I'm going to go out and run and you start to feel good when you're running, do not sprint. Please do not sprint. Don't bother with trying to sprint.
Don't pull the hammy that way.
Don't bother with trying to feel like if you're trying to be fast, you more than likely are going to like fuck yourself up. Rather than try to be fast, if you do get encouraged to move a little faster, just try your best to be smooth. Strength is never weakness. Weakness is never strength. Catch you guys later. Bye.